Hi, I'm Jennifer Potter, Executive Director of Be Well Texas. Too many people are struggling alone these days, and alcohol and drug deaths are increasing. We started Be Well Texas to offer high-quality, science-based addiction treatment and recovery services anywhere, virtually or in person. In many cases, there is no cost for treatment or medications if you don't have insurance. Really. Welcome to Be Well Texas. We're glad you're here. Visit bewelltexas.org.
Hey folks, welcome to episode 267 of the Alamo Audible Podcast. This is your host, Jared Kalmus, joined as always by my co-host, Adrian Muniz. And you know it's bowl season when Adrian is rocking the UTSA beanie on the recording. It's getting chilly outside. We are officially in the postseason, baby.
Baby, it is cold outside indeed. I don't know how cold it's going to be in Myrtle Beach. I haven't checked the forecast yet, but it is indeed bowl season. And what better way to kick off the Christmas week, the holiday week, than with a freaking Monday morning coffee and UTSA Roadrunners football, 10 a.m. on the flagship ESPN. I mean, I get it. Monday, 10 a.m. Everyone's got some sort of way to feel about that. But the fact of the matter is, TVs across the nation, brother, are going to have ESPN on in the morning while they're making their coffee and getting ready for their Christmas week off of work. Yes, the world shall be tuned in. Santa himself will be tuned in to the UTSA Roadrunners versus the Coastal Carolina Chanticleers, which, by the way, Jared, this is our first matchup with Coastal Carolina. This might be the absolute best mascot game in college football. The Roadrunners versus the Chanticleers. Holy cow. This is amazing. It's a phenomenal mascot matchup.
Adrian, what is the biggest live TV programming competition at 10 a.m. on a Monday morning? It's got to be a morning talk show, Good Morning America or something. I don't know. I'm never watching TV at that time of day.
I'm never watching TV. Do you mean like in general or just like for sports?
No, in general. Because usually even if you're the only Friday evening game for college football, you're still going up against an NBA game, an MLB game, something, right?
Yeah.
But 10 a.m. there's no American sports that you're competing with, right?
None,
so it would be a non-sports.
It's Price is Right. It's the View and Good Morning America. Yeah. I don't know. That's amazing. Yeah, I don't even know. I guess markets will be open. CNBC. That's crazy, man. Yeah. It's gonna be UTSA is the only party in town, bro. Yeah.
That's a good point about the markets being open. It might be the first time that UTSA's played while you could make a trade on the stock market at the same time.
100%.
Obviously, we played early games when it's on a weekend when the market is closed.
This is the first time you could be on your couch with Robinhood open while watching the Roadrunners trading stock. This is amazing, man. Yeah, this is a perfect holiday Monday. Yeah. Dude, that's awesome. Awesome.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I haven't heard a single Roadrunner fan traveling to the game, which I get because it is difficult. If you go try to look for flights, good luck, brother. Unless you're somewhere closer to North Carolina, it's almost impossible to pull it off, or South Carolina rather, whatever on the Atlantic seaboard. So that's unfortunate, but it is what it is, right? And I think it's a good matchup between two fairly evenly matched teams. Rather, it'll be good.
It should be good. I would have loved to have gone to this game, Jared. It's just the fact that it's on the 23rd just makes it really, really hard to do. I guess the best way to do it would be if you were to leave tomorrow or today when you're listening to this podcast, Thursday or Friday, right? You have your extended weekend. You go to the game at 10 a.m. and you fly home probably right after.
Yeah.
love the destination, love the location. I think UTSA got a really, really good one. It's just the date that sucks. It is Coastal Carolina's home stadium, so you better believe it's going to be a home game for those guys. And UTSA gets one more crack at winning a game on the road, a proper road game. It's not really a neutral site, despite being a bowl.
Yeah.
So
It's really funny how that played out. I mean, what are the odds, A, that UTSA would go 0-6 on the road to begin with, but then also to have a chance to go 1-6 with a bowl game being a true road contest. I mean, it's statistically, it's insane. It's so rare.
Massive confidence and ego boost for this team to be able to go and get that W.
That's never happened in college football before. I feel very, very certain. I'll bet $100 that a team has never gone 0-6 on the road, made a bowl game, and then played their bowl opponent in that opponent's home stadium. I can guarantee that's never happened before.
Yeah. You're probably
crazy
not wrong.
Stuff, man. Yeah,
you're probably not wrong.
Well,
yeah.
Before we start to preview the Chanticleers, I'm trying to get my pronunciation of that correct. It's not a word that's easy to roll off the tongue for me.
I think it's Sean. I think it's Chanticleer.
Chanticleers? Chanticleers.
Chanticleer.
Thank you. Let's talk a little bit more about the Roadrunners' positioning coming into this game.
Okay.
You know, from all we've been able to tell, they're going to be near full strength for this bowl game, right? Then that's one of the pros of having the 6-6 season is like winning the bowl game is something that the guys can really look forward to. And I think some of those guys that are kind of going to be those borderline NFL talents, they're going to stay and play for this game because they want to say that they won something big this season. You know, I Memphis win doesn't scratch that same itch, right? Because that's like fighting for survival in that one, you know.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah, they do want to have that moment of, you know, absolute victory, right? Being able to hoist something above their head. I think also just like what this team has gone through this year, there's been a hell of a bond that is forged through the hardships, right? And that's what we saw like with the Roadrunners that won back-to-back conference titles. They had to go through those hardships of the end of the Frank Wilson era and the 2020 COVID season before all of a sudden they had like this magic, this mojo together. You don't get that without going through a little bit of pain together, right? And these Roadrunners have endured some pain this season. And now I think there's a big desire to play for your teammate, play for your team now. And they want to go out there and get this thing together. And yeah, I think it's really, really big for the culture. That 2-1-0 triangle toughness locker room culture, man.
Yeah. I would say of all the guys that have gone into the portal, I think Ronald Triplett's the only one that could have an impact on the outcome of the game. You know, I don't even know if he started every game this season, but very good player for the Roadrunners. Heavily in rotation, difference maker, was really strong down the stretch, right? So that's the one guy that I feel like you could probably point to and say that could have some impact. But UTSA is quite strong at that position, so I'm not too worried about him not being available in the bowl game. You know, past that, you know, if Eddie Lee doesn't play in the bowl game because he's in the portal, something were to happen to Owen, you know, that's probably not great. He's the only proven backup on the roster right now. And then Jackson Gilkey's gone as well. So you would have Brandon Tennyson, and that's pretty much it.
Pretty much it. Yeah.
But I don't think Kavorian Barnes going to TCU is really going to hurt the team at all. You know, he didn't get a carry against Army, right? So UTSA is in a very fortunate spot.
Yeah. I think throughout the back half of the season, we kind of saw the roster just sort of construct itself the way that it ought to be. You know, like how we were kind of we were forcing roster construction through the front half, and I think the back half, by way of necessity, it just sort of settled on itself. And yeah, I mean, we've seen what this team is constructed out of at their best. You know, and I think you make a big point. Ronald Triplett's probably the main piece that you're going to feel is gone. But with some other names, you're not going to feel them missing to a bad degree. In fact, you might actually be alleviated of, dare I say, some of the dragging that they were doing. I hate to say that about Kavorian Barnes, but I do think you're
Yeah.
you're going to see a Roadrunners offense like against the Army game that's just running the ball a little bit better.
Right. Yeah, I'd have to agree with that. Outside of the portal, though, the coaching staff's intact too. UTSA hasn't lost or fired a coach so far. Could certainly change after the bowl game for sure. But having that continuity, I think, is going to help. I think Coastal fired their offensive coordinator.
Yeah.
But that can be a benefit sometimes too, right? Like,
but this is a big.
The game film is not as reliable.
Sure. Yeah. Maybe a little bit more unpredictable in that sense. But I mean, we're going to get to Coastal Carolina's gutted roster in the transfer portal. But I mean, just based off of that, even if you still had the same offensive coordinator, you wouldn't know what to expect because a lot of these guys you're not going to be able to. You haven't seen before. There's no film on them. But the great debate, Jared, is what you were talking about with UTSA's coaching staff. No changes. And I think throughout the season, we've seen a lot of people sort of calling for some changes, especially at some assistant coaching positions as the season sort of progressed and we turned things around in November. I don't quite feel like that desire from fans subsided entirely. I think people still kind of want to see some coaching changes on that sideline. I don't think it's going to happen, but it's definitely a subject of debate. Should or shouldn't Jeff Traylor, UTSA coaching staff have made some changes, either before or after the bowl game, whatever it is, this offseason.
Yep. Yeah, I still think we'll see changes after bowl season, or maybe after signing day is probably the better way to say it. Because there's always other schools are going to fire their coaches, and they're probably going to look to hire some UTSA coaches, right? It's happened in the past, so
that's happened.
We'll see how that shakes out. But another important thing to point out too is they changed the rules so you can have additional on-field coaches now. Like, I don't think there's any limit to how many coaches you can have. So theoretically, UTSA could bring in a second offensive line coach again and not have to demote a coach to make room for him. So we almost certainly will see some coaching roster changes for sure, but it may not be someone getting fired.
Are you suggesting subtraction by addition happening? We just hire more people to fix it instead of gutting people out. It's not a crazy proposition. I think with Jeff Traylor's coaching style, it's probably something to expect. I mean, has he let go of a coach one time throughout his tenure here at UTSA so far, or have all coaches been poached?
No, he's had a couple that he let go.
Okay.
The linebacker coach before last season.
Yeah.
There was a special teams coach as well, I think after his first year or second year.
Okay. Yeah, I think I do recall that.
He has done it before, definitely. It's been rare for sure. But he's also had a lot of success, right? So there hasn't been a lot of need to, drop the hammer and make widespread changes either.
What about health-wise, Jared? What do you think of the Roadrunners' health? I know we were missing. Was it Dan Dishman against Army?
Yeah, I think Dishman was out, and I think Jamori Robinson may have gotten hurt against Army as well.
That's right.
I could be wrong about that.
That's right.
Yeah.
So I'm curious if we'll have all three tight ends, because we know whenever UTSA has all three tight ends in healthy, that offense is balling. That offense is balling, and they can beat anybody at their playing field.
Yeah, I don't know what Dishman's injury was, but this will be his last game. So I think if he's anywhere close to ready to go, he'll be out there. Robinson's an NFL prospect, right? So if he's still banged up, he may choose to opt out just for injury reasons. But who knows? Other than that, it seems like UTSA is in really good health, honestly. I mean, I'm sure there'll be some other opt-outs, maybe some grades issues like we've seen in the past for UTSA, but hopefully not. Hopefully that's limited. Seems like they're going to be, especially compared to the opponent, in really, really good shape.
Very good. Very good. Yeah. I like the health of this roster right now. I like the way that they were playing football in November. I think that UTSA heading into this bowl game, and now how many weeks has it been of practice? About 3 weeks since. Well, I guess you're not practicing all 3 of those weeks, but I guess you take
a week off. Yeah.
Yeah. So 2 additional weeks of practice for this roster. I think is very, very good too. Not just for this bowl game, obviously, but going into next season, the more reps that these guys have together, especially being fresh off the end of a season like that.
Yeah. Yeah, and to that point, Adrian, every year, if you go back and you look at UTSA's bowl game, there's always some young player that emerges and kind of plays into a bigger role in the following year. Historically, that's often been the pass rushers, right? Like Trey Moore had a big breakout game, I think, after his freshman season. And then Jamori had a big one last year when Trey Moore had opted out. Any young players you're looking to see have a breakout performance against Coastal Carolina?
Oh man, that's a great question, Jared. I guess it just depends on health wise, because if you're talking about guys up front, yeah, I guess there's a few names that could make some impact. But how about a little wild card? Let's say it's a guy that we've seen all throughout the season. He's been a good contributor, but maybe he has a stellar performance in a bowl game, and so it sets the stage for his future as the Roadrunner. Oh, Patrick Overmeyer for just balling out with more than just one or two catches, but having a day, right? How about Patrick Overmeyer, especially if Dan Dishman is still a little bit injured? How you see Patrick Overmeyer get really, really involved in that offense, making the blocks, getting the catches, and then sort of blossoms into that premier tight end alongside Houston Thomas next season, and the guy that's sort of waiting in the wings to come up and be the premier tight end after that.
Yeah. Here's one for you. Robert Henry missed the Army game. Another guy that's going to have a chance to play the next level. He may not play in the bowl game. Bryson Donnell could be your breakout guy, right? We've seen some flashes from him, but he's not gotten enough carries to have a breakout performance yet. So he'd be one to look out for. And then, if Jamori doesn't play, I think a guy like Cameron Cooper could have a big breakout performance. He played really well against Army. He's quietly had some big impact plays throughout the back half of the season. And he's a guy that's going to be in line for some playing time next year. So those are two guys I'd have my eye on.
Even to Bryson Donald, I think, is a great pick. And we've seen great stuff from Brandon High, but what if he's a workhorse? Robert Henry's out and he's a premier ball carrier and he gets 15, 20 carry. I mean, yeah. So maybe there's a couple of guys in that running back room that could end up being a little bit of a breakout in the bowl game. Yeah, that's good. One other note on Jared is we briefly touched on it earlier, but 6-6 Roadrunners sitting at 500, haven't won a single road game. We know it's a big confidence boost or what have you, but like, how important is it for UTSA to win this bowl game as a program, for Jeff Traylor, for optics? Is this you can't really say do or die about a bowl game, but does it feel like this is one that this current construction of UTSA really needs to go and get so that they finish the season above 500, so that they sort of keep their resume intact?
I think of all of Jeff Traylor's bowl games, this has probably been the one that has the most riding on it. And like you said, it's not do or die, right? But this is the only bowl game where it's going to determine if you have a winning or losing record on the season. Additionally, I feel like it's going to have a part to play in the coaching roster construction as well, because if they have a 6-7 season, you got to make some changes, right?
You have to. If you
go 7-6, it's like, we're going to reload. We're coming back stronger. You got revenue sharing. We got transfers. Blah 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 blah. Like you can spin a narrative, But if you have a losing season, I think it's a lot harder to justify that stuff.
I mean, how crazy is the emotion difference, the polarity of emotion from 7-6 versus 6-7? It's a total perspective shift.
And I know Coastal's playing at home, but man, if you look at their transfer portal situation, it would be pretty sad if UTSA lost this game. Honestly, Adrian, I mean, Coastal has, split between their offense and defense. They have like a whole team of starters that are not going to play, right? And they were a 6-6 team from the Sun Belt. I mean, it should just be expectation to win this game handily if we're keeping it real.
Man, let's talk about the meat and potatoes, Jared. Yes, sir. If we're keeping it real, there's no reason with UTSA's situation going into this bowl game versus Coastal situation going into this bowl game. Two completely different junctures that these programs are at, respectively.
Yeah.
UTSA should expect themselves to go in there and get a convincing W in this bowl game. I mean, they should win this game handily. They should play better, and they should finish a win above 500.
Yeah,
I would agree with that.
Yeah, for sure. All right, well, before we start breaking down Coastal Carolina, I do want to give the typical Patreon shout-outs to our Board of Trustees members. Last week, we had a bonus episode on Patreon where we broke down each of the guys that signed with UTSA on early signing day, which is always a treat, always a blast. We'll have another one of those in February once the final signing day rolls around. UTSA's already gotten some pretty big name transfers to commit to sign in February, so stay tuned for that. Stay tuned for more coverage. If you can't wait till February, you're not already a patron, go definitely sign up for that. You can get an annual discount if you sign up for an annual membership, and can see all of our great content throughout the offseason. We got baseball season starting up soon. Mason Lytle just announced as AAC preseason player of the year, which means that Dan will be starting back up with a lot of coverage for you guys, so definitely tune in.
Let's go.
And thank you to all of our Board of Trustees members who make it all happen. That includes Ditchy Teak, John Otwell, Gary and Ruben represent the UTSA Burger King Tailgate, Ray Redding and Meet Me Apparel, Brandon Grill and the Grill Realty Group, Andy Elizada Proficient Benefit Solutions, Ian McClendon and Seeker LLC, Javon Townsend, President of the DFW Chapter of the UTSA Alumni Association, Ryan Squares, Water Construction, UTSA Annual Giving, Artisan Vapor and CBD, and Wayne Gonzalez and the Runners Rising Project. So, Adrian, let's take a quick Kumi break, and we'll come back and we'll preview the Coastal Carolina Chanticleers. All right, guys, welcome back for the Kumi break. It's time to break down UTSA's opponent in the Myrtle Beach Bowl, and that is the pride of Myrtle Beach themselves, the Coastal Carolina Chanticleers, a very proud and emerging football program. They have kind of followed a very similar trajectory as UTSA. Grayson McCall was their Frank Harris, put him on the map, put him on ESPN all the time.
Yeah.
Most well known for their teal field, I would suppose, but really good football. They're a really fun brand of football as well. Adrian, I'm excited to just see these two teams match up. I wish this matchup would have happened, 2 or 3 years ago when these two programs were both in their prime, so to speak. But it's still going to be a great one to watch.
Yeah. Coastal Carolina, man, is definitely done a really good job in their short history as a college football program. They just started playing football in 2003. Right, so not too far off from UTSA being a very young, developing football program, but they do have a proud fan base, Jared, and that just sort of seems to be the case in the Carolinas. I think they love their football because the ECU Pirates have a very, very die-hard fan base, and same here with the Chanticleers. They have App State, absolutely, man. So it's there. They're diehard fans. They have a very, very good fan base. I think it's going to be a really good bowl environment as far as atmosphere goes. It'll be a proper road game because the home crowd is probably going to fill that place up. So
yeah, I would hope so.
UTSA,
I would kids are out of school already. Why not? Why not stop by?
I mean, I don't need to reiterate how great of a way it is to kick off the week of Christmas. Yeah, but I mean, if I was a Myrtle Beach local, I would absolutely be going to my alma mater's bowl game Monday morning, 10 a.m. to kick off the festivities for the holidays.
Yeah, really, I'm sure most of their alumni are within a couple hours drive too, right? I can't imagine they have a massively spread out alumni base that had to fly into the game. So yeah, I hope they can fill it. It's not a huge stadium, so I hope they can fill it up.
Yeah, got to be similar to UTSA's, right? Where the farthest commute is DFW or deep in RGV, right? I mean, 4 or 5 hours. Yeah,
for them it's like going from Charlotte or Raleigh or whatever. Yeah,
totally. And probably a much more scenic drive through the Carolinas as well.
Definitely.
So yes, Roadrunners versus Chanticleers, which the Chanticleer I just can't rave enough about how great of a mascot that is. Chanticleer is
Yeah,
not
Anthony,
actually.
please fill us in on the historical etymology of the Chanticleer.
Yes. The Chanticleer is not a real animal. It is not. It does not exist in the animal kingdom. It is actually the name of a fictional rooster in Geoffrey Chaucer's Canterbury Tales. The story is about a rooster named Chanticleer who is tricked by a fox. It is a pretty phenomenal backstory on how the hell coastal Carolina landed it. Chanticleer is this rooster named in a fairy tale, I suppose, a fictional book. Coastal is a branch of USC, South Carolina, Gamecocks. What are the Gamecocks? Roosters. They wanted to identify with their parent campus. And so Roosters, Chanticleers was chosen as the mascot.
It's crazy.
All about the brand, baby. All about the brand.
If UTSA were to pick like another heifer to go along with Bebo, like I don't even know where to start with that.
Well, now I'm trying to think of what are the names of famous fictional cows. Not many are coming to mind. I guess Paul Bunyan's ox, Babe,
Mm-hmm.
the UTSA Babes. It's not quite, but this is the equivalent, right? Yeah, I mean, we would be the UTSA Cavs, I suppose. What's a
the Steers? I don't know.
The Steers, yeah. I mean, there's got to be a famous fictional cow, though, and I'm probably just drawing a blank on it. Either way,
you got me googling famous cows. Elsie from
What's Elsie
Board
from?
and Milk. Board and Milk.
Oh, baby, the UTSA Elsies would have been fine. Board and Milk.
Okay, here's a really good one. There was a Mickey Mouse cartoon character called Clarabelle. That's a cow. I mean, that's pretty similar to Chanticleer.
That is absolutely, that's the line that we want to draw right there. That's what we need. A Disney
Clarabelles
or a Dr. Seuss. The UTSA Clarabelles would have been incredible. Would have been incredible, and then we would all have cowbells in the stadium, gong 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 gong, like digging them back. Clarabelles, cowbells. Oh my gosh, yeah, that was
now I'm
sweet.
thinking like, what if UTSA was an ag school, you know? But we would be like a South Texas ag school. Man.
Oh man.
So many possibilities.
Yeah, South Texas ag school in San Antonio, dude, and
student section decked out in Ariat.
No, boy. Well, yes. It'd be Ariat, it'd be Realtree. Yes. Yeah. Because up in College Station, it's all what is it? Justins. It's going to be a bunch of Justins and Lucchese's, right?
Oh,
you come down to San Antonio, we're going to have the Realtrees, we're going to have the Ariats on, baby. Nova Leon style. What up? Yeah, that's what's up. I like.
Well, that was a fun detour. Anyways, Coastal season has been honestly very, very similar to UTSA's. They're both teams that are much more talented than their 6-6 schedule results would indicate, right? And I think similar reason for both schools. They've just been very inconsistent, right? I mean, if you look at Coastal's results, it's kind of crazy. Like they smoked Jacksonville State, one of the best teams in Conference USA, 55-27, in Jacksonville on the road. Incredible showing. They only beat Temple by 8 points. UTSA saw firsthand. Temple not very good. They lost 39-7 to JMU. JMU is a solid program, but they were not at the top of the Sun Belt this year. So that game was nowhere near as close as it probably should have been. And they lost 24-38 to Troy. Troy was not good this year. I think they only won like 2 or 3 games, if I remember correctly.
So strange. Yeah.
So they've just been really, really up and down. They had a really bad 20-point loss to Georgia Southern as well. Just like they should have been a lot better this year. They should have probably been an 8-win, 9-win team. Same as UTSA.
Yeah, you've got the very, very similar narratives coming from both of these teams as far as their season goes, Jared. And but Coastal Carolina, I think, is a little bit different in the fact that their season started a lot stronger than it ended, whereas UTSA had a much stronger finish than how we began in 2024.
Yeah.
And
Different trajectories for sure.
And that is kind of continuing on that same path, even through the in between of the end of regular season and the beginning of the bowl season. In that, how we were just talking prior to the Cumbia break, UTSA is at full strength, still has their full coaching staff. Coastal Carolina, after a poor finish to the regular season, is now seeing this massive exodus of essentially all of their important starters to the transfer portal. Are we ready to go through this list, Jared?
Let's try our best, man.
I've got Coastal Carolina in the portal on offense. I've got QBs 1 and 2, Ethan Vasco and Noah Kim. We have running back, well, I guess not the main running backs, but you got Simeon Price. Simeon Price?
No, it was another guy I was thinking of. Their second leading rusher. I think Christian Washington's the one that's in the portal.
Oh, is Christian Washington in the portal as well?
Yep. They have several.
Okay, so we've got Simeon Price. We've got Christian Washington. They also have Jameson Tucker. I don't think he really played any snaps, but also in the transfer portal. Okay, so that's 3 running backs. That's 2 quarterbacks. Okay, wide receivers. Let's see.
One of their tight ends is in.
I've got, oh my gosh. Yeah, one of their tight ends is in. You have a right guard in. Their wide receivers, everyone that entered the portal was, for the most part, guys that didn't really play any snaps. Then on the offensive line, they've got 2 names that are in the portal, but those are guys that didn't really play any snaps.
Yeah, so I have both their starting and backup right guard in the portal. Additionally, on the running back room, you named, I think, 3 guys. But their leading rusher, Braden Bennett, has been injured, right? So his status is unknown. And I think he's the last remaining scholarship running back. So if he's unable to go, I think they have a walk-on that's probably going to play. It's bleak, dude. It's really bleak.
Is that going to be? They're going to end up having to play a freshman or a sophomore, because that's most of all of their upperclassmen talent at the running back position. All right, defense.
Yeah, and like you said, I mean, they have lost some really heavy hitters, but it's been like their depth that got hit really hard, right? And it's not just like guys that aren't seeing playing time. There's some of that for sure, but a lot of those guys that were kind of in reserve roles, rotational pieces, have hit the portal. So you have some positions like guard, running back, cornerback for them, quarterback as well, I guess. That there's just like there's no bodies, man. Like they're going to be really, really stretched thin. Probably playing walk-ons.
Well, on offense, it really is. You lose the starters at your important positions in the backfield, quarterback and running back, but you lose depth positions in wide receiver and amongst the offensive line. On defense, you're losing guys that played all of edge rusher Clev Lubin, cornerback Matthew McDoom, one of the best names in college football.
Yeah, he committed to Cincinnati yesterday, I saw.
Oh, yep. Already at Cincy. Yeah, and Lubin committed to Auburn. So leaving for greener pastures, sure. But I mean, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 guys on defense. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 guys on offense. But
jeez, man,
again, of those,
the whole recruiting class gone.
Yeah, of those 13 guys on offense, maybe 6 or 7 of them are the ones that were actually getting snaps and playing time. But on defense, I mean, most of these names played in 10 games this season.
Yeah. From a purely number standpoint, their roster is the size of an FCS roster now, with this number of guys in the portal.
Just from Exodus.
Yeah.
And what in the world can you possibly point at to having that large of an exodus in, just right after the regular season, almost immediately? Head coach still intact. You finished 6-6. It wasn't like this 3-9 finish, like horrible regular season. Yeah, the back half was worse than the front half was, but this team was still competing. What is it? What is going on in Coastal Carolina that leads to you losing all of your top players?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm sure it's a mix of factors. I mean, I think, we saw those two guys that committed to the Power Four schools. Like, obviously, they're probably going to leave either way. Very special talents, and they can get paid. But I think you probably got some culture problems. Some guys probably got pushed out, right? Some of those guys that haven't played a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think if you're a coach too, I mean, if you're not on the hot seat, like maybe it's better to let that depth go and just start recruiting. Because like with the early signing period and all of that, like you can know exactly what you got, what you need nowadays. So maybe coaches are less cautious about keeping guys to the bowl game now than they used to be.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe so. I mean, but with this large of a gutting, gosh, you'd have to imagine, especially with Coastal Carolina's defense being gutted the way that they did, a healthy UTSA offense should really be able to run some numbers on these
Yeah,
guys.
they should for sure.
When we look at Coastal Carolina's offense, however, Jared, like who the hell is going to be taking snaps? Who the hell is going to be carrying the ball?
Yeah, so they got a guy named Tad Hudson. He is the only option for them. He's been named the starter. But he's a promising one. He's a young guy. He's a former 4-star recruit. I want to say he's a redshirt freshman. He transferred to Coastal from North Carolina. So, he's definitely got some potential for sure. I'm sure he's still a bit raw because he's so young. But I did watch his highlight tape, and, he's a dual threat guy. He's got some pretty good zip on the ball. So, I don't know how well he knows that offense. I don't even know what their offense is going to look like, right? Because they're going to have a different play caller for this game, and they're not going to have any running backs. Their offensive line's been hit. So, it's really impossible to sit here and predict what they're going to look like, how they're going to play. I mean, they could come out and run an air raid, right? Because their receivers, I think, are intact. And that's probably what would fit their quarterback skill set the best. And they're not going to have running backs to do their typical, kind of triple option stuff with. So, who knows, man? It's a real wild card. UTSA is in a tough spot, I think, preparing for this because there's just like so much uncertainty on who's going to play, what those guys can do, what are the play calls going to look like, are they changing the scheme, all that kind of stuff, right? Because you got to keep in mind, their offense that you saw throughout the year was like kind of held over from the Jamie Chadwell era, right? All that spread option stuff, the motion triple option, the speed options, the rocket tosses, all that stuff. They all inherited that from the previous regime, right?
Okay.
So they could be looking to change it up and move away from the option stuff, and they could be using this bowl game as a precursor for what they want to do next year. Just speculation on my part, but if you're UTSA, those are some of the questions you got to be thinking and preparing for.
Yeah, you got to be asking yourself what's that team going to look like. I mean, I can't imagine that they're doing too many drastic changes because even the guys that are going to be getting snaps for the first time, they've been practicing a very specific playbook all season long, right? And so you don't want to deviate too much from that. But there is a bit of excitement and, sort of chomping at the bit to play. You've been waiting all season long. You haven't gotten that many snaps or any at all. Now here's a bowl game, and you get to go out there and strut your stuff. There's a little bit of intimidation, I think, for Roadrunners, and in that there's going to be a lot of guys that are eager to get out there and play ball for Coastal Carolina. Now, does that also probably lead to some disorganization? Most likely, and we'll have to take advantage of that when it happens. But there could be some guys that come up there and really cause you to raise your eyebrows that just go out there and have a day. They've been chopping at the bit all season long.
Yeah, I think we saw it for UTSA in the Frisco Bowl last year, right? They had so many guys that had great issues or opted out and they couldn't play or whatever. And a lot of those young guys, like, they were very talented and they've been developing throughout the span of the season behind a good coaching staff like Coastal has. And, those guys can really blossom. You get those extra couple of weeks where you're getting a lot of reps with the ones and the twos, and you can make a big jump in those couple of weeks, right? So, I know Coastal's recruited well. They've got talent on that roster. So, I'm very confident in UTSA's ability to win, but you can't just write them off, right? Because they are, quality Division I players. They do have a good coaching staff. So, it's not going to be like a total shoe-in. Like, UTSA is like a 9.5 point favorite right now. But I think it'd be really easy to just look at the portal entries for Coastal and be like, oh yeah, UTSA is going to win by 30 or whatever. But you got to have respect for the guys that are on the roster and that are going to prepare to compete.
Yeah, definitely so. Definitely so. And so with the offensive coordinator out, is it just going to be Tim Beck calling the plays?
Yeah, I don't know. I was looking at their staff right now. They have Derek Wareheim as their offensive line coach and run game coordinator. Wareheim came from New Mexico, where they ran a very similar kind of spread gun option. So if they want to keep it as close to what they've ran this past season, then Wareheim is probably going to be the guy to call the plays because he's run that system before. But yeah, I don't know. I was looking a little bit. I didn't see that they had announced a play caller for the game, so it could be Beck.
Yeah.
But I don't know. But I think Wareheim would make sense if he's going to be the guy.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So
Wild times, dude.
yeah, not too sure what to expect, but I'd imagine, they're going to be leaning if they have a healthy Bennett, they should be leaning on the run game a lot more. If he's unhealthy, they're going to have to continue airing that thing out, and they're just going to have to let their 4-star, new quarterback transfer go in there and let that thing rip. I mean, what have you got to lose?
Yeah. Yeah, and I think too, I mean, you probably had to simplify your options, right? And maybe do less of the really exotic stuff and try to keep it simple with like read options and jet options, right? Where you bring the receiver in motion and you kind of read the edge player and you either give it or you pull it and stuff like that. But also, you don't have any depth behind that quarterback, right? So if you have that quarterback running a lot on option plays and he gets popped and his helmet comes off or whatever, you're turning to fourth string quarterback at best, right? So I do not envy the position that whoever the play caller for Coastal is going to be, because they're kind of in a no-win situation there.
But when it comes to combating a UTSA defense, it does seem like those that type of option style might play to Coastal Carolina's favor.
I don't know. I thought UTSA did a really good job against Army, and I know it's a different option. It's not the same, but I thought UTSA did a very good job of tackling at the third level and the cornerbacks contributing the run game and not letting the dive get yardage and stuff like that. So yeah, I don't know.
They did give the offense a lot of chances to win that game. It really wasn't until they got worn out after 4 quarters of having to deal with that.
Sure. And like perfect execution from Army too, right? I don't think Coastal's in a position where they're going to be able to execute that cleanly.
I guess that's another really good point, Jared. You have a lot of guys playing in their first game this season. Very easy to make mistakes, especially when you're juiced up to finally get out there and make a big play. Yeah, simple to make those mental mistakes, those boneheaded penalties, as Jeff Traylor likes to call them. So Coastal Carolina has a couple of blips like that. You have to take advantage of those moments.
Yep. Well, I guess to jump over to the defensive side, like you pointed out, they got hit even harder on the defensive side with real contributors going into the portal for them. And I think for me, the cornerback position is probably the most concerning. We mentioned Matthew McDoom, who went to Cincinnati. He was their star cornerback. But they had several other corners go in as well. I think they're going to be down 5 cornerbacks, if I remember correctly. I don't know how many corners they have left on the roster. They may have to play some safeties at cornerback. It's nuts, man. Oof. You got to feel bad for them.
Yeah.
They must hate that cornerback's coach. Like, I don't know what the explanation is for all that.
How would you say UTSA receivers have done in getting open against opposing cornerbacks this season?
I think they've done an okay job at getting open. I think the drop problem that they have, like the ability to complete a catch, makes it look worse than it is, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And that's why I asked the question very specifically, right? Like, have we been because we've been getting open a lot and just dropping a lot of balls is what it seems like to me.
So, like, if Coastal's young, inexperienced quarterbacks aren't giving the best coverage ever, there's still the risk that UTSA just drops it.
I'm not going to catch the ball.
Right?
Yeah.
I think another thing that's working against them too is if you look at their pass rush, right? Their pass rush was really one guy. That is Clev Lubin. He's the one that went to Auburn.
Lubin. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean he was like 70% of the pressure from the defense, and obviously he's out. They really don't have anyone that so far this season has shown a consistent ability to get to the quarterback and to disrupt the quarterback's timing, right? So if they don't have someone that steps up quickly, Owen McCown's going to have plenty of time to sit back there and let his receivers feast against a very, very depleted cornerback room for Coastal.
Yeah, so Cleve Lubin was an edge rusher, 9.5 sacks on the season. The other edge rusher on their roster is Joa Cash, who played in 11 games, got some snaps, 2.5 sacks. DeMonte Diggs, defensive lineman, senior, he had 4 sacks on the year. So it was very much like by committee for everyone behind Cleve Lubin, but just the gap between him and the rest of the defensive line is pretty stark.
Yeah, and they have 3 guys in the defensive line rotation that are in the portal as well. Whitson, Barber,
Will
and
Whitson.
Fuller. Yeah, all 3 of those guys in the portal and likely won't play.
Man.
So that's half of your 2 deep right there on your defensive line, all in the portal.
All upperclassmen. Whitson was a senior with 2 sacks. Barber was a junior with a sack. Fuller was a junior with a sack. All guys that played in 10 plus games. Yeah, man.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot. It's a lot.
Yeah. Very tough, man. Very, very tough. I guess some positives for them though is I think they do have a good base in the secondary. They have safeties Tobias Fletcher and AJ Williams who are really solid, and it seems like they'll be playing. And then Juan Powell is the corner that was opposite of McDoom for the season, and he played well as well. Obviously, it helps to have that other talent around you, But obviously teams probably weren't throwing at McDoom that often, so Powell was probably getting tested pretty often, and he held up pretty well. He has good grades on PFF and all of that. So they've got some guys I think that can play some defense in the secondary, but it's just like what is that depth going to be, and like are they going to be able to rotate guys throughout the game? Seems like the answer is probably going to be no, right? So conditioning, all that I think becomes a big question.
North Carolina had 10 interceptions on the year. 3 of them came from Matthew McDoom, but Tobias Fletcher had 2 on the year. AJ Williams, safety, nabbed one itself. It seems like they have a pretty solid safety play back there. Like a bend don't break at least.
Mm-hmm.
So O McCown, I think after his performance against Army is going to really tighten things up and play a lot cleaner football than we saw against Army. Army was by far his worst performance as a road runner. He just wasn't all there. I think he tried to do too much, overextend himself. I think you're going to see Owen McCown be extremely sharp and have a little bit of a vengeance against himself to go ahead and write that regular season finale.
Yeah, I think UTSA's run game is going to build off of what they did against Army as well. I know Corey Godinet's been playing banged up all season long, so for him to get some time off and rest his body up, I think it's be beneficial. And you've had the same starting lineup on that offensive line for over a month now. So I think that unit's ability to play better football together, have better communication is going to improve. We saw it against Army for sure. So you got to feel really good about UTSA's offense for sure. Triplett going to the portal is a bummer, but that defense is going to be pretty well intact. I think just with all the portal movement on the Coastal side, there's going to be some mental mistakes, and I think UTSA is going to be well positioned to take advantage of those.
Well, and yeah, I mean, besides Ronald Triplett, you're still going to have your studs in. I mean, Brandon Brown should be able to be a menace in Myrtle Beach on Monday, and I fully expect a monster game from him. And he's already announced that he's going to go to the NFL draft. But he's playing in this bowl game, not going to skip the bowl game. He said, didn't even cross my mind to skip the bowl game.
Said the same thing.
Yeah. Unbelievable, man. Unbelievable.
Football guys, man. So, gotta love them.
Yeah. And I think again, they've got something to play for the season. As you were talking about earlier, Jared, they don't have that really monumental win that got their minds right and they got that monkey off their backs and not winning any games on the road. Is there anything in particular, though, that you want to see from UTSA offensively or defensively? Like, is there something that you want to see from them? Something that you would like for them to do better on Monday than what they've done throughout the regular season?
It's a good one. Let me get 5 yards of carry from the running backs.
Ooh, yeah.
Whoever they may be.
Okay.
And let me get a 100-yard game from someone that's not David Amador from a receiver.
Oh, that is a tall order, my boy. I think that's one's.
Well,
I think that one's.
McEwen should be healthy, so that shouldn't be that big of a stretch for him if he can go. But if it's
Sure.
Jamel Hardy, I would love to see that.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah. Yeah. I would love to see that too. I love the pick for 5 yards per carry. UTSA on the year averaging about 4.2 yards per carry. So it would be a significant jump, but one that they should be able to make against this battered defense against Coastal Carolina. Yeah, I like that. I really, really like those as far as things that you would like to see them do better. A 100-yard game, I think is a little bit of a tall order, but 5 yards per carry, I love that pick. I absolutely love that pick. It doesn't seem out of reach for this team. They should be able to get something. For me, Jared, it's very, very simple. Play clean football. This UTSA Roadrunners have averaged 8.5 penalties on the year so far, but they only committed 3 against Army. They only committed 3 against University of Texas, big brother. So clearly, this team is capable of playing clean football because UT was in week 3 and we only had 3 penalties. Army was in week 12. We only had 3 penalties. But Jared, there's not a single game outside of that where we didn't commit at least, well, FAU we had 5. So that's our second lowest penalty output. But you had 7, 8, 9, 8, 10, 10, 12, 16 against Rice. It's crazy to me. So I would like to see us play clean football against a team that is on our caliber, not a team that we're punching above our weight class to beat, but a team that is on our caliber. If we can only commit 3 penalties against UT, there's no reason why we shouldn't only commit 3 penalties against Coastal Carolina. It could be clean football. That's all I want.
I'll build off that with another one too. Let's get Owen McCowan back to his old ways of throwing 0 interceptions.
Oh yeah, and it's tough. It's tough, man, because Owen McCowan so good throughout the year on interceptions until the month of November, where he throws 1 against UNT, 2 against Temple, 2 against Army, which is crazy. It's crazy that he had 5 interceptions in 3 games because he had 4 interceptions in 9 games prior to that, right? And then I have 5 in those 3. So something got to him up here. I don't know what it was, but yes, let's see a 0 pick day from Owen for sure.
Yeah, my theory on that is the pass protection improved. He had more time to sit back there and get greedy. Early in the season, he was, trying to survive, man, throwing the ball away, getting rid of it quickly. Yeah.
Team started clicking. They rattled off a couple of wins, and now you played a little more confidently.
Let me bomb it out, baby. Let me bomb it.
Let's rip this thing. Yeah, good point, Jared. Really, really good point. Yeah, because, we weren't supposed to win that game against Memphis. And Owen was perfect. 4 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. You come into North Texas, you feeling yourself, boy. You are feeling yourself. So, yeah, there's a little bit I think that's a good theory. Yeah, a little bit of overconfidence in chucking that thing.
What's your score prediction?
Owen McCowan, only UTSA quarterback to win a bowl game for the Roadrunners. I think UTSA does cover the spread, Jared. I do. I'm going 32-20 Roadrunners.
I'm going to add a little bit to that. I'm going to say 35-20 with a cover.
Okay. So we have some points.
Yeah.
I'll take that. I will most certainly take that. It should be, all things considered, Jared, a game that UTSA wins handily. That's what we expect. And that ought to be the expectation for this team. All right. Monday morning, 10 a.m. We hope you guys are tuned in. If you're not making the trek, if you are making the trek, fantastic job on you. We want to thank for a fantastic season here at Alamo Audible, despite 6-6 Roadrunners finish. Really, really fantastic here at Alamo Audible with a ton of support from you guys. We were able to bring video to podcasting this year, which was just absolutely epic. We've gotten really good feedback. We hope you guys have been enjoying watching the video podcast on YouTube. Like and subscribe if you haven't. But none of it would be possible. None of it would be possible without our Patreon donors. So a big shout out to our big money donors. That includes Ben Tovar, the Bunch family, Zach Espericueta, and the San Antonio Podcast Network, Alejandro Benavides, Dan Nerdall, our host of Around the Birdbath, coming to you very, very soon this spring.
Also, big shout out to Dan, who graduated from UTSA this past weekend. Congratulations, Dan. Welcome to the ranks of the alumni. You're already one of our most distinguished alumni, in my opinion. Big shout out to Dan, and best of luck to him as he begins his professional career.
Oh, man. Tremendous congratulations on the commencement, Mr. Nerdall. And just fantastic stuff. Fantastic. Jacob Cavazos, board president for the UTSA Alumni Association, that Dan Nerdall now joins. John Nally, Rick Cortez of the Rowdy Road Grillers, Sumner McDaniel, UTSA King Bowser, and Maddie. Also, Home Field Apparel, where you can still save 15% on UTSA merch, or all of Home Field merch, I should say. If you use the discount code UTSA Wants Home Field, UTSA Wants Home Field, you will save 15% on your very first purchase.
Yeah, and they just launched their UTSA bomber jacket. I think it's so sick. It's probably the nicest piece of UTSA merchandise I've ever seen anyone create.
Yeah.
Fantastic stuff.
Oh, man, dude. And it is the time of the year. It is the time of year to be rocking it. Amazing stuff. Well, Jared, we will be back next week to recap UTSA's bowl game. Hopefully their second bowl victory in program history. But probably won't be towards the back half of the week. We've got Christmas Eve, or Noche Buena. And then we've got Christmas Day, Tuesday and Wednesday, the 2 days following our bowl game. So maybe on Thursday, Jared and I can get together for a really good bowl recap. Nevertheless, with a 10 a.m. kickoff for our Patreon subscribers, I would expect for us to have a same-day immediate post-game reaction after the bowl game.
So, man, it could be like within an hour. We could get real crazy with it.
We're gonna have your immediate reaction by freaking 2:00 in the afternoon.
Yeah, before lunchtime. Maybe we'll see how this game goes.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So let's do it, man.
Awesome. Well, hey, last game preview of the year, Adrian. Thank you as always for riding along with me. It's been a great one, and thank you to all those listeners for tuning in. If you're a YouTube watcher, don't forget to like and subscribe. I should say that more often. So thank you if you've checked us out on YouTube. We need to do some giveaways or something to get the numbers up over there.
Yes.
But yeah, thank you guys all so much, and like Adrian said, we'll be back real soon.